Hi, this is Debbie Brown, President of Colorado Business Roundtable, and I'm joined today for a really short webinar about some of the work that Colorado Business Roundtable has been doing on the issue of modernizing immigration. It should come as no surprise, this has been one of our issues for several years now, especially how it affects workforce here in Colorado. So I'm excited today to be joined by Brock Herzberg, who is the program coordinator for CBCIS, which Brock, I always write it down. It's a long one.
Yep.
Colorado Business Coalition for Immigration Solutions. Did I get that
Nailed
right?
it. Yep, that's
Perfect,
correct.
perfect. I should have enough practice at this point.
Yeah.
But Brock, our organizations have been partners on the issue of immigration for several years now and wanted to bring you on as we're getting ready to relaunch the toolkit that you and I worked on together. So welcome to this micro webinar.
Yep. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it and appreciate being asked on behalf of our coalition to work on this issue with you all at COBRT.
So before we jump in, tell us more about CBCIS and your role leading the organization.
Sure. The Colorado Business Coalition for Immigration Solution, we are a statewide based coalition of business organizations and individually owned businesses, chambers of commerce, regional chambers that really focus on the topic of immigration and immigration reform and making the arguments not only for here in Colorado, but to our federal delegation in Washington, D.C., how the topic of immigration and reform is vitally important to the economy of Colorado and the community of Colorado. So we really focus on the Colorado Compact, which was thought of and brought forward really by the business community a couple of years back to talk about immigration. And even though it's such a politicized issue, try to talk about it in a non-politicized way. What are some common ground that the business community can share, whether that's around national security, the communities that we all live in, and that our businesses operate in, to really, and what the coalition focuses on is really providing a space for people to have those conversations. We are backed up by economic data and research done by the American Immigration Council. And that data ranges, you can narrow down to the county, the region you're in Colorado, the state itself, and then nationally on some really key issues such as agriculture, hotel and lodging, some of the main economic engines that drive the state of Colorado and really the country as a whole, to provide that resource to folks in order for people that aren't you and I, Debbie, that talk about this and lean in with folks that maybe they're in their business in their own community and want to find a way to talk about it. We help to provide some of that information and data and arm our businesses with that so they don't feel uncomfortable or scared to talk about the issue. And that's really our main thrust as an organization.
Yeah, well said, Brock. And that's the reason why Colorado Business Roundtable is a member of CBCIS under your leadership. We're stronger together when we come together on topics that perhaps sometimes can be divisive. The reason why COBRT's involved and our employers in particular are interested is really along the lane of workforce. So for us, that's our main lane, is how do we make sure that the large employers, particularly here in Colorado, but most of them are global, have the workforce they need. And one of those pieces is modernizing immigration pipelines. We've talked about it in several different aspects, but particularly in that workforce lens, where that was a big issue for us prior to COVID, it's become imperative now. And so trying to lean in on immigration in particular has been something that's been really impactful to work on with you and your team. So to jump in, we've revised our toolkit that we have and wanted to just throw it back to you on kind of what are the top things as folks kind of click on the link and look at the toolkit and are able to print out some of those facts and figures. What are the key highlights that you want people to be aware of as they look at the toolkit?
Yep. And Debbie, the one thing that I will say about this toolkit, and you and I have been working on this now for almost 3 years together. So
there's the time gone.
Yeah, right.
No.
It's such a big topic, and it's such a big conversation, that is when we first started as CBCIS talking with you all at Covert, I think one of the main things before I kind of highlight, and I really do want people to look at it, so I'll just briefly highlight some of the top 5 issues that we do focus in on the toolkit. One of the things I would like to say, though, is between Covert and CBCIS, this could be a 40-page document, but what we did was listen to our membership, and I'm including you all in that as well, Debbie. Covert and CBCIS listened to our respective memberships, and in CBCIS, you guys are such a great complement, Debbie, because you do represent those larger businesses, and that you're a member of ours, and we represent some small individual businesses here in Colorado. What we wanted to do was listen to our membership and really kind of drill down, what are the commonalities that we're hearing? You know, people will talk about, well, this is my little sliver of the immigration pie that I think needs to be reformed. We tried to look at it from more of a global, holistic approach. So that's why in the toolkit, you will find that we picked out 5 main topics, and all of that you'll see throughout the toolkit. There's research and data backing that up, some from the Business Roundtable, American Immigration Council, the federal government itself, to really kind of back up and bolster some of what we're hearing. So the toolkit focuses on 5 main areas. And again, we give little blurbs about each of those. And then we put in there, here's where we got some of the economic data on a national scale and statewide for Colorado to be able to make the case. So while you'll see 5 topics, that does by no means indicate that there are only 5 topics to talk about, but these were the central points that we've heard. I've heard from my members, you've communicated that these are top of mind for your members. So I'll quickly run down them and then just encourage folks to really look at the toolkit and explore it for yourself. But the 5 key areas we came up with, the first one is around, and this is Business 101. We advocate for and really push on our federal delegation for consistent laws and regulations around immigration. I think we can all agree the laws are outdated, but there's been a lot of regulatory work done in the immigration space. We would ask that the federal government keep those as consistent. It's easier for business to plan out when they have some consistencies. We also put in there as our number 2 topic, attracting and retaining foreign students that are in large numbers going into fields of STEM, which Colorado has kind of become a little mini hub for STEM degrees and people coming out of universities with those types of degrees. So we're focusing on how do we attract and retain those, not only students, but after they're done being students, how do we keep them in the pipeline and in our communities here? Our 3rd and 4th topics, Debbie, are very similar, and I think the reason we did them not as one, but as a number 3 and a number 4, they are really around the visa issue. This touches everybody from the hotel and lodging community, the ski industry, agriculture, and by the visa issue, I mean, one, having enough, and are they high-skilled workers? Can we get enough high-skilled workers in Colorado? The tech industry in this state is booming. How do we get those workers to be able to have a valid legal visa? Another topic on the visa front, and I think this is probably number 4, not every business or industry needs a full-time year-round person. So how do the H-1A, H-2B visas factor into attracting and retaining the part-time workforce that we need in Colorado? And that is one of the main things that I think is great to highlight is how do we accommodate those part-time workers and be able to still have your business operating? And then the 5th one, and I don't think a lot of people think about this, is ways to encourage and continue to allow for the entrepreneurship that we've seen in Colorado with our immigrant population that's either moved here, they're in the process of moving here, or they've been here for a while. And just as a quick kind of highlight on that in 2019, and this will be in the toolkit, there's data showing that the immigrant entrepreneurs in Colorado had a spending power of about $1.2 billion that they were pumping into the economy. So those are really the 5 highlights. It's that the continuity, the attracting and retaining the type of educational students that we can get here and then keep them in Colorado, the visa issues, and then how do we accommodate those workers, specifically the entrepreneurs who are deciding to start their own businesses? How do we allow for that and continue to have the workforce issues and the overall economic outlook in Colorado be accommodating to them as well? So those were the 5 main areas that we hit on and touched on in the toolkit.
Yeah, great summary, Brock. I couldn't agree more. To you and I, it seems like one of those issues. I know you've been working on this issue for, gosh, a decade and a half.
Yeah.
And some of these sort of common sense issues, particularly around workforce, certainly make sense. So
Yep.
thank you for anything else to add, or we'll just send people to the toolkit and let them jump in. I would say one call to action for sure is to join CBCIS. If folks want to join what you're doing specifically, they don't need Covert to be the middleman. How do they get more involved with what you're doing?
Thank you so much for that, Debbie. And that is, it's a great plug for us because we do rely on our members. It's free to join our organization. You can go to our website at www.cocompact.org. And once you sign up, it gives you access to all of our information, again, at a state and local level and also at a federal level. So I think that's a great call to action. The only other thing that I would say that I would really impress upon our members that will be watching this and then perusing the toolkit is we cannot not talk about this topic. I know it's sensitive and sometimes it's hard, but our livelihoods here in Colorado depend on these workforce development issues. And to not talk about them because they're a little bit difficult and dicey, I think is doing a disservice to the members that you and I work for and to Colorado as a whole. So I just encourage people continue to learn about it, to talk about it, and any information that you and I can help with. I'm happy to lean in any way I can.
Appreciate that, Brock, and appreciate shedding the light on all the good work that immigrants have brought not only to the United States, but to Colorado, and to continue to do this good work with you. So we'll put the link with this video, and we look forward to engaging with the partners of CBCIS and Covert in the future. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.